Hey, Bass Geek here, and today we're going to be talking about junk fishing for fall bass. So I finally had some time off and I got to spend a few days on the water. But let me put it to you this way, and as gently as I can. It sucked. So I know when we talk about fall fishing, we all daydream about schools of bass cornering shad in the back of pockets, or schools of shad just busting on top water. But a lot of times during the fall, that's simply not the case. During the fall, bass can be more susceptible to weather changes than, at least to me it seems, any other time. During the spring, when it's warming up, their biological clock is ticking, so they have to get up to those flats. Right now, they just have to feed. So all they're thinking about, all they're focused on is feeding for the winter. So when those weather changes swing through high pressures, low pressures, warm fronts, cold fronts, the bass really react to those more extreme, it seems, than any other time of the year. So what's junk fishing? Junk fishing just means you've got as many rods out on your deck, or you've brought as many rods with you on the shoreline as you can possibly bring. You're ready for almost any situation, because the truth is you have no clue what's going on. So day one I spent on a small lake in Virginia that you've seen me fish a lot. The air temperature starting out that day was right around about 35. It warmed up to about 56 degrees that day. The water temperature stayed at around about the 55 to 56 degrees. The water clarity was about 10 to 12 feet all day long. It was a high pressure bluebird sky, and it made fishing really tough with the water falling. So we got out at first light this morning on the lake, and just like everybody during the fall, we were looking for some topwater action. But there was absolutely none of that to be had. So this is a deep, clear, very steep bank highland reservoir, and the predominant cover is laydowns, and they will run from literally the shoreline to 30, 40, even 50 feet deep. So I picked up a swim bait rigged on a belly weighted hook, weedless. Now I fished it much the way you'd fish a spinner bait, slow rolling it down the deep ends of that laydown. But why did I pick a swim bait over a spinner bait? Well, in clear water, a swim bait is much more natural appearing. So day two, we went to a Tennessee lake. Now the weather conditions that day, the air temperature reached a high of about 68 degrees. The water temperature was right in the mid 60s, 65 in most places. The water clarity was 1 foot to 3 foot in most places. And again, it was a bluebird sky. But on this day, we had a little bit of wind that helped us out. However, we had some equipment failure this day. I actually caught 3, pulled off the bass trifecta, a spot, a largemouth, and a smallmouth. But unfortunately, the spot and the smallmouth, for some reason, those files are corrupt. I'm working with a new sort of setup with my camera equipment So just bear with me, guys, as I get all the bugs worked out. He ain't great, but that's our first one on the crankbait up there. See what happens. So day 3, we went back to that same Tennessee lake. The air temperature was going to reach a high of 76. The water temperature held pretty steady at about 65 in most places, but this is 2 days after the fact, and the water had actually cleared up from about 2 to 4 feet in most places. Once again, we had the dreaded bluebird skies. This was a real high pressure coming through, and I'll be the first to tell you, it was an absolute grind on the water that day with 0 wind and slick, calm conditions.
No, not a 0. That bass has been the toughest bass I have ever fought for. Little largemouth.
So as you've seen, on day 3, we caught 1 fish to save the day, even though it wasn't much of a bass. So I really did this video to show you guys that fall fishing isn't always the best fishing of the season. Sometimes it can be really, really tough. And you know, I had 3 days of really tough. So just remember, keep grinding. I learn more those days that I have that are real tough than I do on those days when I go out and I can throw anything in the water and it works. So always analyze, always think about what you've seen, maybe the decisions you didn't make on the water that could have changed your day. You're really going to learn from these tough days on the water. So as always, questions and comments in the comment section. You know I love your feedback, and you know I love to interact with you guys and just answer your questions. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and you guys rock.